So now that the Creator Store is out there, who's been impacted by it the most? Hello everyone, I'm Dan, and I'm going to share some data with you. To cut a long story short, I wanted to strike a better balance between creator compensation and widespread access. So even though my plugins are paid and I expect them to be purchased by those who can afford them, I decided to include an escape hatch. If, for whatever reason, you're not able to support my work that way, then you can apply to a sort of waiting list. And I'll randomly distribute free product keys to whoever's on the list. In my mind, that strikes a reasonable balance between simply giving my stuff away versus having people who benefit from my work pay towards helping me cover my expenses. So that's where this data comes from. I decided to also include an optional survey alongside the application form, and it contains some rather revealing numbers. Let's start with some overall statistics about the program. In the first 16 days, I have given away $2,520 in product. Let me repeat that again. $2,520. That's only even possible because you guys did support my work financially, so thanks for that. You've made hundreds of people's lives better this month, and that is worth celebrating. Out of all of the applicants, roughly 95% were willing to give a little bit more information via that survey. So let's start simple. Where do these people come from? Now, no surprises who's in first place, it's the United States. Classic English-speaking part of the internet bias right there. But do you know who came in second place? They're pretty close in the numbers. Perhaps it's Brazil, or maybe it's somewhere in the Middle East. It's actually Russia. You see, for geopolitical reasons, the Creator Store update has had an outsized impact on people who live in economically sanctioned countries, chief among them being Russia because of the invasion of Ukraine. Roblox can't do business with people in those sanctioned countries anymore. It's not something that Roblox has any semblance of control over, but I think it's pertinent to point out nonetheless. Going further down the list, you can see just how anywhere this whole thing is. It touches, for all practical purposes, every single continent, so that's really cool. We can reach out and help people from around the globe. But what's stopping them? We'll never know. Actually, we will know. Quite shortly, actually. When asked about the reason they couldn't support my work via the Creator Store, you get a pretty accurate reflection of how exactly the Creator Store launch played out. Plenty of technical issues, not surprising really, and a healthy dose of the geopolitics like I just pointed out a few minutes ago. But far and away, the number one reason is straightforward. Stripe just doesn't support payments everywhere, and even when they do, they might no longer be appropriately priced for the region. That this number is so high indicates to me that regional pricing is even more important than previously thought. If over 35% of respondents say it's a problem, it might be a problem, so perhaps we should be talking about that a little more urgently as a community. And perhaps Roblox should be implementing mitigations for this too. So let's get some perspective on the financial side of things, since it's clearly important. Likely the cheekiest question in the survey, but nonetheless enlightening, I asked people how much Robux they earned in a month. I was explicitly looking for the Robux quantity, so DevX didn't get in the way of the numbers. And as we can see, the vast majority of people on the waiting list were not very wealthy. This is rather unsurprising given the way that I marketed the whole thing, but it's good to see confirmation here that this really is finding the right people, and that people are generally honest about whether they need to be on the waiting list or not. But, surprise! This secretly isn't a Robux question. I actually took the liberty of doing the thing that I do best, converting Robux quantities into increasingly tiny USD quantities. Ta-da! It's a bit grim, isn't it? But I think that graph, in addition to the data I have from people who paid for my products, adds up into a perfect reflection of the way the Creator Store is actually structured. When people talk about the way customers behave, they're actually often talking about different levels of wealth. There's a very large body of people who simply don't have any money at all, and those people can often be seen loudly complaining about how nobody will buy anything. Similarly, those with only a little bit of money to their name are often seen talking about how 100 Robux is fine, but anything above that is ridiculous. That pattern continues all the way up to the sort of people who can justify dropping $500 per project on specialist performance tooling. All of that is to say that the Creator Store is essentially a layer cake, with a large base of free users and progressively smaller layers of people at different price points. The idea that you have to target those bottom layers is largely a myth, and is quite overrepresented just by sheer volume of people. What I've theorized for years, and finally shown in practice, is that there are levels above that, where you can actually be more successful. So, my pricing explicitly targets the higher layers on the cake, while this free access program loops in the lower layers to also benefit from the same work by meeting them at that lower level. There are no representative agents in economics. Markets have inequality, and it's in the recognition of that where better business can be conducted. Okay, let's wrap this up. What does all of that tell us about what the Creator Store needs to do next? Well, I think it really comes down to finding better monetization strategies. There's 3 ways in which I think that can be explored. Firstly, to solve for regional and age-related lockout, it'd be good for on-platform earnings from games and UGC to be usable as currency for purchasing these tools. Secondly, to solve for regional inequalities, pricing should be variable based on the purchasing power parity, relative income, or cost of living in your specific region of the world. Finally, to solve for the layered nature of the Creator Store, there should be options to pay the price that works for you. I would love to have a system which presents a region-adjusted expected list price for you to pay in order to gain access, but still gives you backup options as a last resort. Obviously, paying above the price would be a win-win for everyone. It's a very popular idea in the community, but there should also be provisions for paying below the price too. My take is that you should be able to add a free waiting list to your products and have Roblox manage the fair distribution of some number of products every month, just like what Access Anywhere does. And sure, you could come up with other, more novel solutions, like somehow making plugins cost percentages of earnings in places where they're used, but honestly, I don't think it needs to be complicated for creators to get a decent, basic deal. So let's just save the complex ideas for later and see if we need them at all. Those are the conclusions that I came to after looking at this data. But what do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. But other than that, I've been Dan, and I'll see you all next time. Have fun.